This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
We're going to do this and we're going to do it our way, and it's not all going to be about profit. This is actually going to be about building something that's of value, and it's got value for everyone that's going to be part of it. And we might talk a bit more later on about some of the leadership training and stuff, and that's the real clear goal is that the company gets value out of better leaders, but it makes better communities, makes better parents, and
You're holding a very big picture, aren't you?
And that's where it changed. I suppose it changed that 10 years ago where, we were trying to get profit to this level and pay the bills, and I think that pivotal change was actually, this is a business for good. Now, how do our goals change from being self-focused on family and money to being about, well, now our why is about our people.
Hello and welcome back to Making Work Better, the show to help you realise it's time to stop fracking human resources and to make work humanly sustainable. To help you work out how to do that, I've tracked down the workplaces that are already making work better for people and performance, and I'm bringing you their stories and their strategies. I'm Dr. Denise Quinlan, and today I'm delighted to welcome Nicki and David Crowley of Scafit. Definitely my favourite scaffolding company in the world, and quite possibly also my favourite company full stop. Nicki is GM and David is the MD of this family-owned business that employs about 60 people and has been awarded B Corp accreditation. Welcome, Nicki and David.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Very generous.
It's so true. Honestly, there are some standout moments when you just feel really excited. And when I heard you both speak last year, it was like, these are people who just get it. And it kind of comes back to human beings with good values who value other human beings can make good things happen in their workplaces when they put that into practice. And one of the things I got from listening to both of you was, you know what your values are and you're acting in alignment with your values. And that's the kind of solid ground you come back to. And that's what gives it coherence.
I think one of our most important things is being authentic and actually giving a damn, like actually giving a shit, really,
Completely. That's
really, truly caring and looking after them. And it makes a difference.
And all of the research around what people need. There's one researcher who describes it as people want understanding, validation, and caring. And that means I see you, I get you, you're okay, and I care about you.
Yeah.
To be seen for who we are and to know that who we are is worthwhile and people will care about us. That's what we all need. And when you show you care about your staff, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And thank you for agreeing to come and share your story and what you've been doing. So you've been on, I know we're all sick of the word journey, but let's face it, you've been on a 10-year one with your company. Go on.
Closer to 20, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about what are the challenges that are most important and how have you been responding to those? And go back as far as feels right to tell the story.
Well, I'll start, Nick, and you just join in. But I suppose you're looking back right when we started the company, we knew that we needed more for our family, and this is we got involved in scaffolding, and it's just the product, but at the end of the day, it's still about people. So you talked about that whole burnout introduction, and if we looked in those first 5 years of starting out as a new business owner, we had all those symptoms, but
it's
we were
pretty brutal
and lonely.
Brutal and lonely. Yeah, it's not a great combination.
No.
No, because you can't offload to your staff and go, boy, I'm having a shit day today, and you're not helping. It doesn't work. Because it's leadership. Generally it's about getting the best out of people. So all those symptoms we experienced in those first I don't know, I guess it's a journey, isn't it? But, we definitely had burnout on the go, no doubt. And you lose a lot of your values and visions and the way you want to do things because you get clouded. You just can't see out. Um, but I suppose that's part of the journey. That's talking to others and getting your mentors around you and learning what you've got to do.
What do
Yeah.
you think it was that helped you move from that? Was it a particular moment where you're like, no, we can't keep doing this? Or was it a gradual change to get out of that brutal, lonely, everything we're doing is about work, there's no possibility of doing anything good for ourselves? What changed?
We had a defining moment where sadly our brother-in-law drowned in the Sounds, and that we never found his body, and we had a
I'm so
month out of,
sorry.
so we had a month out of the business, and that was a defining moment, I think. Really, we came back, and some bad habits had been happening while we were gone, and we realized we had the wrong people in the wrong positions. And Dave was incredibly strong, and I was so proud of him, and we made some massive changes. And from there, it just sort of, I don't know, everything fell into perspective. Things changed for us.
I think
And
after loss like that, it is a huge perspective check, isn't it, on what
yeah,
is life, what's important, what matters. It's
yes,
very precious and it's very fragile. Are we
yes,
spending it the right way? Yeah.
yeah. It was a real moment, and well, long period of time really, and that made a massive change for us. And Dave, as I said, was just incredibly strong. He just dug deep, and he made these changes that needed to happen. And from there, we just grew. And we met with different mentors. We started to find people that were doing really wonderful things and quizzing them and asking them, what are you doing that we could learn from, And that made a massive difference for us. We got a good board behind us. They were really supportive. And then we just focused from there, really.
So go on, Dave. Getting advisors and that important, but what do you want to add?
Well, I just wanted to say Nikki was, making it all about me, but it was very much about us. And, I suppose that was the strength of our relationship, was able to actually grow from it and to being, we're doing this together. And that's probably where a lot of the joy came as well, is that, this has been the solutions we've put in place for our whole family, really.
What's made it easier for us is that we have a really strong relationship, and we're very together, and that's made it an easier journey, I suppose, all the way, because we can bounce ideas off one another, we complement one another, and where Dave's strengths are and my weaknesses, we take turns at things, and that's been really helpful as well. But regards to our staff and implementing such strong wellbeing around them, it's that feeling of we wanted to care more and give more, because we're in a privileged position with having all these wonderful staff, and you just want to make sure that you're doing your best for them and helping them grow and move forward and looking after their own families. It's a big responsibility, and we feel it. So then that's when we started with the all-day breakfasts. The kitchen's open all day, and we have fruit and toast and cereals, and we get deliveries twice a week from the supermarket. We have life insurance, disability insurance, and we now have taken last year health insurance on all our staff, because I'm feeling really uncomfortable with the way our public health system is going, and that's really vital. I feel if something happens to one of our boys, we've unfortunately had to take out both our life and trauma insurance on our staff. We had our manager pass away 6 years ago suddenly, and that was shocking for all of us.
Yeah.
But it made all our staff realise that the insurance has actually worked, and to be able to give his wife and child $100,000 for the life insurance was incredibly we were so grateful we had done that.
Mm.
And so were our staff, because everyone was going, how can we all help?
How can we help? How are they going to cope? Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just one little tiny minor thing, really, but it actually, helped them.
Yeah.
And we've had a staff member that has needed the trauma insurance for a kidney transplant, and that made an enormous difference for his family, enormous. And it's very satisfying being able to care for them that way. And we have about 4 different psychologists on our books, and they're wonderful people. I've never met them in person, but I've spoken on the phone, and I hear from our staff when they go after every couple of sessions. I just check in with them and say, how did it go? And they come back with all these wonderful tools that they have been given, and you just see how it helps them move forward, and it's the best investment we could do. It really is. Yeah.
And in terms of making that investment, was it, most organizations seems to do this in response to, we've got this problem, this is the solution. Was it like that for you, or was it, what else can we do? How did it come about?
I think it organically grew, and this is, you can just hear from Nicki the gift of caring she brings into the business, and I think that we just sort of let that really organically grow, and that's sort of, I don't remember writing down a strategy and saying, oh, well, this is, the 10-point strategy that we're going to go for. This was just being authentic and having confidence that actually, no, we're going to do this and we're going to do it our way, and it's not all going to be about profit. This is actually going to be about building something that's of value, and it's got value for everyone that's going to be part of it. And that's how it sort of evolved.
I love that. I love that, value for everyone involved. Yeah.
Yeah. And we might talk a bit more later on about some of our leadership training and stuff, and that's the real clear goal is that the company gets value out of better leaders, but it makes better communities, makes better parents, and
family. You're holding a very big picture, aren't you?
And that's where it changed. I suppose it changed that 10 years ago, where we were trying to get profit to this level and pay the bills, and I think that pivotal change was actually, this is a business for good now. How do our goals change from being self-focused on family and money to being about, well, now our why is about our people.
That's huge. That is absolutely huge, because that's at the heart of everything you do. I like that expression, we're a business for good, and that's such a big driver that a lot of organizations don't have.
So we've applied, we did an assessment coming up 3 years ago for B Corp-certification.
Did you?
And so we're the first scaffolding company in the world to have our B Corp.
So we did steal the business for good cause. Quote, that's not ours.
but I honestly, B Corp, becoming a B Corp is such a massive commitment.
Yeah, big commitment.
Huge.
Congratulations and well done.
Thank you. Yeah.
To get to this stage of becoming an accredited B Corp is huge. And it really is putting your money where your mouth is, isn't it?
Yeah, it was bigger than getting an ISO 45001. It actually was harder, but it's the right thing to do. You've got your 5 pillars, you've got your governance, which is so important that we're, a financially viable business, but also that we're ethical with our finances. You've got your community, and you're giving back to the community. You've got your customers. Make sure we look after them well, and our staff being the most important, that we care for them. And then the sustainability for the, caring for the environment. It's got those 5 pillars, which just wouldn't everybody want to align with those, really.
When did you decide to do it? How did you learn about it, and what made you decide to do it?
Our son is part of a group called CQ, and it's a group of people that come together, usually about 8 to 10 business people, and they come together 4 times a year and help one another with their businesses. One of the people in his group is a guy called Tim Jones, the Grow Good guy from Christchurch, and he is the B Corp advisor for New Zealand, really. Well, he was at the time. And that was about, I'm going to say 6 years ago. And so we met, he did a talk, and we met him. And it was like, this is just all our values. It's everything that we would like to have in our business. It just seemed the right thing to do.
And what did your staff think and your customers when you told them you were becoming a B Corp?
Most didn't know what it was.
And when you explained what it meant?
Yes, but I think possibly still don't understand. There's more and more questions around it.
Yeah, and it's about still living those values. I think that's the most important bit is actually not just saying what you're going to do, but it's actually, I think that's where the staff actually see the value is that, it's just the values we live by. And it's when when people aren't watching as well. It's always authentically happening.
I think that about values, it's, well, if this is what you will do when no one is watching, it's a value.
It's a right.
Otherwise, it's compliance, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like it.
And so tell me, in terms of the challenges that that you face in your sector and your business, what have been the big people challenges for you in the last couple of years?
Well, I think it still is always about people and culture, and our catchphrase that we've got on at the moment within our business is that leadership drives culture, culture drives outcomes, and the outcomes of this last 12 months, and I think probably the next 12 months is about I don't want to use the R word, but we've got to be resilient. We've got to be smart. We've got to be making sure our businesses are sustainable. And if you work backwards out of that, it runs back again to the people. People drive the outcomes that we want to focus on. So it's about communicating those outcomes and teaching and training our leaders right the way through the business.
Currently, obviously the recession is front of mind for everybody, and the media, I feel, and I'm sure we all do, just make it all feel so negative. So we just don't watch the news really. But it's having our staff's back and making sure they understand that we are fine. We've got this. You're all going to be fine, and it's helping them through that as well, making sure they all feel safe.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of fear out there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and we like them to feel safe. We're going to be fine. We're going to ride this out. And, we'll all come out of it probably a little bit stronger, but supporting our staff through that.
Mm. And I think back to what you were saying, Dave, that, that the organizations that people want to do business with are the ones where they get looked after, where they can trust people, where there's reliability and, it's good to work with them. A company like yours is one people want to work with, surely. Yeah?
Well, we position ourselves for that, and we do get some really good, really positive feedback, and we get it also on vote of confidence back with repeat business. It's so expensive trying to find new customers all the time, which we had to do for a while. We just didn't, there are periods of time we didn't have this culture right. But, we're in a positive position at the moment, and it's all about relationships. It doesn't matter, provincial New Zealand's, is really strong with its relationships because they're all our neighbours and they're part of the community. And relationships are built on trust. So trust is about delivering what you say you're going to do and living the values that you got out in front. And as soon as it becomes all about price, it's hard to compete in that market because it's not value driven then.
Well, it's a race to the bottom.
Oh yeah, and we saw that post GFC back then. And it is as soon as you damage your gross margin or your gross profit, then you just don't get to make decisions. You're in firefighting mode. You're back into that loop of burnout and
yeah. How do we do this? How do we do this?
Yeah.
And so, Nicki, you've described a lot of the benefits that you've put in place that demonstrate the caring, from the all-day breakfast through the insurance and the other benefits. But I know you've also done stuff that affects the ways that you work and the skills that you're equipping people with. Do you want to talk about those? David, I know you were saying you could talk about some of the training, the leadership training and the different things, skills you're equipping people with. Talk to us about the way you work and how you're equipping people.
So we have internal and external training. Our wonderful, gorgeous manager, who's a Wanganui, we put him through his level 5 teaching skills at UCOL. He got the level 5 certificate. I'm very proud moment.
That's a commitment.
I know. Very proud to watch him graduate. Oh, it was wonderful.
Is that something he was keen to do?
It was, and he wanted to be our company trainer, and he's excellent at it. And so we felt he needed to learn how to teach, because a lot of our staff have different ways of learning. And he was his class. He had teachers and nurses, and it was wonderful. He learned a huge amount, and we all did from him. And then he spent a considerable amount of time setting up a essential skills list. And we've got 100s, 200s, right through to 800s of skills. And then he's written programs for those. So I have a spreadsheet and all our staff's names to the side, and I know exactly who's trained in what. And we have it all on a software program. And then one of the important things is that we have, not only are they ticked off, but they're also competent at it. So it's one thing having learned how to use a drop saw, but it's another that they're actually competent.
Demonstrating, yeah.
Yeah, demonstrating. So we have that fabulous spreadsheet, and we have a number of staff or management that help with that training now as we have grown. But Doug had set that up initially. And he enjoys still, helping with that. So that's our internal training. We also have part of the 200 skills is leadership training. So we met with a wonderful woman called Catherine Gavigan a number of years ago, and she helped us write an internal program for our staff on leadership, and it's 4 2-hour courses, and it's around soft skills, leadership, how to deal with conflict, setting goals, and the really big one was understanding their why. And we run that course once a year in both branches, and we encourage everybody to be a participant of the course, and they get a certificate at the end of it. And it's really fabulous seeing the different conversations we have during that course. Dave facilitates it, and it's really great. And it's got to a point now that we have other companies that are asking Dave to facilitate it within their businesses. So he's done a couple of those with other businesses, and that's other construction businesses. And we just offer that as a,
That's fabulous. So that's such a proof of success when other organizations are coming to you saying, we need this.
Yeah, it's really good. One of them we got paid in gin.
Well,
really good too.
It is immensely rewarding. Again, it comes back to that whole community thing too. It's not something that we want remuneration with, but it's something value we can offer to our customers and our key partners. But picking up on some of the, we're still in the habit of calling them soft skills. Sorry, but
and they're the hardest ones.
Yeah. But I think there's a couple of the gifts that we really focus on. We've touched about a lot of these stuff, but I think goals in particular is immensely rewarding for a lot of our team members that, not a lot of our staff get through school successfully, And so to talk about goals, I remember one guy saying to us, well, goals are for somebody else. They're not for me, and how damaging is that there's this lack of belief. And so then when we start teaching about how goals provide motivation, motivation provides better behaviours and good habits and discipline, and actually you can achieve whatever you write down or even whatever you visualise for that matter. Boy, that's rewarding. I think that's been some of our best gifts that we've been able to watch run through the business. And for others.
So satisfying. One of our Dave and My's goals now is that every one of our staff owns a home. They have a mortgage. And for some of the staff, they can't imagine that they could ever own a home because no one in their generations has owned one. So to help them through that process, oh God, I love it. Brings tears to my eyes.
Nicki Crowley, you really are the beating, caring heart of Scafit. I wish we could clone you and put one of you into every workplace. The world would be a much better place. And even, like you said, Dave, for people who say this, goals aren't for me, in the same way, they currently couldn't envisage the idea that they could own a home. But when they hear that this is your vision for them and that you're backing it, that changes things, doesn't it?
Oh, very much so. And I think also we're being vulnerable. And again, it's trying to get the guys that vulnerable doesn't mean to say that you're going to back down in a fight. Being vulnerable is actually looking at yourself and actually being really honest as well. And
takes courage.
Yeah, and part of our training is to say, we put our laundry on the table and we say these are the things that we mucked up on. These are the things that we actually learned from, because that's where our biggest lessons come from. And instead of pointing the finger at somebody else saying that's your fault, actually, it starts with us. And that's where the leadership runs from, not only Nicki and I, but it runs right the way through to the new guys that start with us from day one out of school. So it's just trying to give them confidence to look at themselves and be vulnerable.
So part of this is building the self-awareness and self-efficacy, that they know who they are, they have a sense that they can do things, that there are ways of resolving conflict. Because, you think about the toolkit that you have, we often assume that everybody else has the same toolkit. And the thing you obviously are seeing over the years is that when some of these guys come to you, they don't have toolkits that include constructive conflict resolution, believing that you can sit down and talk it out. And so where do you learn that if someone doesn't teach you? Yeah. And
it's happening from other people that don't have those toolkits either. So they're learning probably areas that they could have avoided, that conflict doesn't have to be a shout over at all.
Yeah. And how does this play out in the workplace? What difference do you see it making?
So within the training that Dave does, we set a whole lot of values. We ask the guys, and girls, what values would you like to see in one another? And often they're fairly similar each course, but we write all those values down and then we put them on a sticker and we put them on the front of their daily job folders. And those folders, they might use 5 a day, and they're in their trucks, and they're constantly that reminder of what they had written about the values that they want from their team members and from their management and all of us as a group. And we just remind them on those values, and they remind themselves because they see them daily, and it helps.
That's amazing. I have never heard of another organisation that does anything like this. A daily reminder of your values.
But it's the house rules, and lots of people talk about that, the McDonald's way, or it's just how you get that in front of people. That it's a constant discussion.
Yeah. But what you're putting in front of them is their values, not just the house values.
Yeah.
They help write them.
They create them.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, we do, if we're doing this a couple of times a year, all the same stuff keeps on coming out. It's not like we have to rewrite this document anymore, because here it is. That's it. It's exactly what the previous cohort said.
Yeah. And how do you see this helping in terms of behaviours, how people work together, resolve conflict? How's it playing out?
Well, I think that's the behaviours. That's the critical bit. And I suppose that's always where the frustration of many companies is, it's very quick to go, oh, yeah, well, my staff are, or, it's always their fault. But the reality is that, if you've got motivated and people coming to work that enjoy to work, they bring together better behaviours. and they bring those to the workplace, and they start living their values because they want to be part of something that's not just about earning money. It's a place of fun. It's a place of value, respect.
Where good things are made happen. Yeah, yeah.
Nothing we love more than hearing our boys singing and laughing. And only recently on Facebook, the boys were taking down a big scaffold in the centre of fielding on the clock tower. It was right in the middle of fielding. And a random lady, photographed or videoed them, because the boys were getting the tower down and they were all in a line and they had their stereo going and they were singing up a storm. And she put it on the Fielding Community Facebook page. Well, it had huge number of shares and hits and likes, and everyone going, I saw them, they must be the happiest workplace. And it was just an authentic day of a normal day of our guys out on jobs, and I love it.
Yeah. And what a difference it can make when you can feel like that at work. So I guess if we think about hard business outcomes, how does that flow into lower turnover than the industry average?
Oh, no doubt.
Staff turnover.
No doubt. No. Yeah, we have a lot of contact in our industry and within other construction industries, and sure, people move on, and we don't stand in the way of that, and there are some people that have to move on. That's just the way business works. But the important thing is we've had a couple of senior guys move on recently in the last couple of months, and just a small story. My farming background, and if you've got a pack of dogs and you lose your best dog, the reality is that the next dog steps up. And, if all the training and the processes are in place, you just see the energy come through from the rest of the team. And, suddenly, we've got all the skills that are just in-house. The training's all in place and opportunities arrive and guys step into it. They feel rewarded. And the cycle continues. So, we've just got such a much more sustainable business, and it flows through to the financials as well. It takes care of itself.
Now, I heard you say last year that in an industry with flat prices, you've managed to double productivity in the last decade. That's astonishing. Big
statement, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can do the whole room kind of goes, what?
Yeah. And maybe, I'm not probably smart enough to actually calculate what that is, but that is the reality, is that I just know in my heart some of these jobs that we were trying to do, the guys didn't care about the outcomes. The guys were turning up to site, eating their lunch in the trucks, and starting to pack up at 3:00 to go home. There was no discretionary effort was going on. We're in a situation. It's 3:00, right? We've got another couple of hours. What are we going to do? Should we pack the truck up? Can we help you? Another team finish up their job. All right. Well, let's go and we've got another 2 hours of daylight. Let's go and we'll start on our next job.
Wow.
And that whole care that just emulates through the business by leadership drives culture, the culture of caring. Just people care about, and they're not necessarily thinking about if I do this, I'm going to make another dollar. It's actually the company is going to be better off, and it's just because they want to be part of it. And
my team will be better off, and this will work better.
Yeah.
They're invested in your business.
Yeah, gross profit is something that we have to manage as business owners, and that's where it pays, because we can't change the pricing. The pricing, all we can try and do is minimize the price reductions that are going on. And if you can't stop that, then the only mechanism you've got is productivity, and you can't get the whip out and expect it to, just because I say so, that you're going to go off and do it. There's got to be a noble cause of why you're going out and you're caring about getting things done.
It was only this week that we had a customer ask what shareholding our staff in.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because they just
act like they own it.
They must be part owners because of the way they were behaving. Which is great. We love that. We want them to feel like that. Yeah.
And so talk me through some of the things that will be making, what we're describing here is that you've got a human-centric workplace. And I love that you use this language. Um, uh, what are the things it flows through into? How do they deal with conflict with each other or with customers? Is that different?
No, is it different, Nick? I think that's just part of the expectations that we put in place. I think also, I think as leaders, we have to also give that gift of feedback where things aren't going right. And I would hate anyone to listen to think, oh, soft means caring means just giving praise. It's giving praise, but it's also giving the constructive stuff as well, so that everybody knows that they're on continual improvement, and that the behaviours are stuff that's learned. So, we're going to give you feedback, and
I think, we think of it as correction, but actually it's growth, and the idea that we believe that all of you can grow and learn. And why would we stop trying to do that? Yeah. And how do you approach feedback at Scafit?
We've got one of our little rules of 6-to-1. So 6 positives to 1 negative. And that builds a lot of trust. And I think it's really inherently hard for maybe men in particular to give praise, because maybe it's not part of the generational sort of gap that we're sort of trying to move through. So giving genuine praise, I think, is really important too, not just going, oh, yeah, well, great job today,
Yeah, good job, way to go. Yeah.
And I've fallen
What
into
was good about it? What did you see? What did you notice? That's the heavy lifting part, isn't it?
That noticing, and you just took those words out of my mouth, and Nicki and I have, particularly in the last couple of years, it's all about noticing. What gets noticed gets managed, gets done, and that whole loop creates also discussions then when you've built trust out of positive praise, when you have that constructive conversations that going, hey, look, we've noticed, and it doesn't fit our values, or we would really like it to look like this. It falls with more care and empathy, and it has more of a result than going, or you can hear it, da 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 da, and don't do it again. Just builds up barriers or finger pointing, and it's not very effective in our experience.
I think when you have given your 6-to-1, when you have consistently been able to notice what this person is doing well, what their strengths are, they feel seen and valued, and it's much easier to hear corrective or growth feedback from someone.
We have posted that. We have posted that with, have you done your 6-to-1 today? And so after each training, sometimes, because we teach it in the leadership skills, sometimes it can cause a bit of fun banter as well. It's like, oh, did you hear me? I've given my 3 positives today, Look at me going, and that's fun,
And it doesn't matter that it can become a kind of a joke. Was that one of my 6? That it's reminding people that this is who we are and this is what we do.
Yeah. The other thing we have done is employ a lady called Sarah Tocker, who's Sarah Tocker and Associates, and she has done 360s on our management group. And that's been really valuable for giving feedback to our management team, understanding that circle. And then she's come back and done training with them at any time they want to meet with her. We're comfortable with it, to re-go over it and see if there's any more improvement they could do, how they can grow their weaker areas. And that's been really good for Dave and I as well, to see where our managers sit, particularly in the top circle for strategic planning and things like that. We can see our staff's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, set out and know. We kind of know I think strengths-based task allocation then becomes possible. When you know what people love and do well, it's much easier to say, could give you more of this, You don't ask the person who hates strategic planning to lead it, And tell me, in terms of what would you say has been your biggest learning over the last, say, even 12 to 18 months or longer?
Do you want me to go first, Nick? Okay. I think focusing on superpowers, I guess, haven't really even talked to Nicki about that either. But I just so so in admiration of the genuine care and particularly the way that Nicki's brought that into the business, and quite instinctive for her to do that from her sort of nursing background and family background, and just seeing that play out and how that's been adopted by our guys. I think that's been probably the most proudest part of what we've done. And you link that with the leadership training that we're doing. It's there's no silver bullet, but I think there's multiple pieces of this, and how we create culture around that. Culture drives outcomes. It's just it's a simple recipe.
And so the culture of care. I love this because in a way, when people think about a culture of care and empowering people and giving people leadership skills, they kind of go, they don't think about the construction industry. They don't think about scaffolding as being an easy place to do this. And you've shown it's completely possible. And in terms of going forward, what are the skills that you now most want to develop in your staff? Because you've already invested heavily in the leadership, in self-awareness, in how they lead others. Where next? What are the skills you see your people need?
I think it's, how do I say it? We need to continually improve the skills that we are teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we have, the odd person leaving and more coming in. And so you always got new people to teach. And it's teaching the older staff or the staff that have been with us here longer that they need to teach the guys behind them. So it's not all falling on us, which it doesn't. And our managers are definitely really wonderful at stepping up. They're brilliant. It's just sort of that flow, I suppose, making sure it happens all the time. With regard to more training, I don't know, Dave, what are you thinking?
Oh, it's got to be definitely emotional intelligence. I sort of feel like the more we've sort of scratched this, the more we realize that we've got so much to understand ourselves, but also, there's so much for the guys to learn about the stuff that's not taught out at schools at all. Yeah.
And it is that, in the wellbeing field, it's really clear that all of your capacity to manage yourself comes from, you've got to have self-awareness. You've got to be able to regulate yourself, which means having the awareness and having some tools. And then I think self-compassion is huge for when we all stuff it up. But, that there's a lovely quote around, it's in the moment between action and reaction, between stimulus and response, that's where choice lies. And if we're aware of what we're doing and what's going on in us, we get more of a chance to expand that moment and make a choice rather than lashing out or just reacting quickly.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
And there's freedom in there. And I think these are such important skills because you'll teach people in the workplace and it will make them a better scaffolder and better at dealing with conflict with their team and better at managing the team they're boss of and better at dealing with customers. But it will also make them a better family member when they go home.
That's really big for us. And you see the guys take home some of the training.
Yeah.
And when we're teaching them the 6-to-1s, one guy went home and he came back the next week. And David said, go home and try the 6-to-1s on your family. Do it on your children. Try it on your wife. Well, this guy came back. He said, that was the best advice anyone's ever given me. He said, I've got lucky every night this week.
I knew she was going to go there. Yeah.
Brilliant. That is
but
so
he
good.
never
It's
used
like
those positive skills. He said, I can't believe when I give positive feedback to my wife that it actually works. He
gets, this is the reinforcement he needed.
Yes.
Happy wife, that's what they say.
Happy life. Oh, that's great. And so for you, there's a sense of responsibility not to just enable the staff to be better workers, but to be better family members and community members.
Yeah.
And that's kind of full circle back to the B Corp, isn't it? That's where your role is in all of those levels. Yeah.
Yeah, business for good, and it's got to be more than just driving profit any day of the week. That's just a symptom that will come out by driving, good people.
Yeah.
Good culture.
And I've got another change on here, a question around is what you're doing helping culture, attraction, retention? And you've given me so many examples of how it is. I mean, when people in your industry are saying, would you come and run that training you do for your staff for our people? That speaks volumes, doesn't it? I want my people to behave more like yours do.
Yeah, we get some nice feedback. Yeah, we do. Yeah, but I think it's got all that value that we, as small to medium-sized businesses, we just don't know what we don't know. And, imagine, 10, 20 years ago, if we had learned these secrets that we sort of know now, because they're not easily broadcasted. We're busy just trying to make stuff happen every day. And if you're in burnout mode, you're not listening to any of that stuff anyway. So, I think, if we can't pass this on to our colleagues or other people in the industry or our clients, that's got to be a why.
And you've got to be vulnerable. We've got to listen and realise your mistakes or where you're not going wrong, where you're going wrong and how you can correct that. It's really taking a good hard look at yourself.
And so in a culture of that, I imagine it's easy when you do that, it's just so much easier for your people to do it. Tell me, what are your staff telling you is most important to them, both in terms of what the organisation is doing well and what they want in the future?
Nicki?
She's going to flick it back to you.
Yeah.
He answers these things better than me.
No. Oh, but, we've talked about, just the pride that our team have. And, we don't instinctively go out there and we don't ask for a lot of feedback. And we have to accept that, our guys don't give general managers a lot of praise. That's part of the lonely space that we operate in. But in saying that, you talk about the surveys because that's something that you run with them.
You hear it and see it every day, really. You really do. You just feel it. And there's little snippets of things that are said all the time. But we do a health and safety culture survey that we've done for probably 8 to 10 years, I can't remember, with 30 questions, and we've extended it. Originally it was 27, and I've really made no changes to the wording of those questions, and it's either A, B, C, so it's an easy thing to answer. And we get all staff across the business to do that once a year, and we've added a couple of mental health questions to the end of it, as we've realised how important that is as we've grown and we've got a better understanding ourselves of what that should look like. And that survey is really valuable to us. We can see a lot of how the culture's sitting by the answers that are coming out. And that's really helpful.
And encouraging, I'm guessing.
Yeah, really encouraging. Really
And what kind of things are they saying in that? Give me an example of one of the questions that you will always cast an eye over to go, where are we?
If you see someone doing something incorrectly, do you walk past it? Do you say something to them, or do you talk to the manager about it? So that kind of example.
Yeah.
We just see.
What do they tend to do?
Well, probably
to speak to the person about it.
Don't just go and tell. Go and actually talk to get involved.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just really tracking the evolution over time. And I suppose if you start back at it, right at the very beginning, we talked about that journey where we went from that point of change. That was the point of change where, the guys didn't care. There was no consequences, and we're just here to turn up for our lunch and stuff. And then as that's progressed on, we can see. We try and put a lot of maths in behind the survey to actually see what is progress like, and we've sort of come down and right down to very low numbers now, where it's consistently people. It's just showing us that people care.
Yeah,
and we go through that as a management group each year and focus on those responses, and we have the top two best answers and the two worst answers, and then we put that into our health and safety strategic plan. And we set goals around how we can improve the two worst answers. Where are we going wrong here, and how can we improve that behaviour throughout the year so we get a better result next year?
Wow. Honestly, you are kind of, for me, like the poster children for running a caring business. And what I'm really excited about is that, you've made the commitment as far as B Corp. There is clearly a culture of caring at work here, both in terms of benefits, training, the way you interact, and it's having an effect. You've got staff who want to use their time well and want to make things work for the company. So many companies, when they want to improve productivity, think they have to crack the whip, tighten things up, put pressure on people, and taken a much longer term view that I think comes from a place of trusting people, trusting that people do want to work, and that if you do support them, they will.
And they do so well, beautifully.
And the bit that I really want people to know is, and this has improved productivity.
Yeah.
And
we talk about it at our board meeting often, and we had a board meeting yesterday, and we said, really, we can't be any more productive than we are. We can't. We're so productive.
Yeah.
There's nothing to churn there, really.
Yeah, that you are operating. And this is, in my work, we talk about what people are trying to do. The solution to preventing burnout is sustainable high performance, not cracking the whip so that people can boom and bust, but sustainable high performance. And I think a lot of people feel that's elusive or impossible, that you have to keep prodding and poking people or run them really hard. And what you're showing is there is another way.
Well, I think burnout as well, boy, we put some energy into negativity, dealing with negative firefighting. It's not sustainable. And I think that's where, if you go back to your original question, that's where the energy just gets absorbed. And we're as owners and managers, we enjoy coming to work. And boy, isn't that what we want? It's.
Yeah.
I've got Fuck It Friday after this.
Come on, you're now going to have to explain to everybody what Fuck It Friday is.
It started a few years ago. It's just the girls on a Friday. We get together and we have a little 2 or 3 little nips of a alcohol of choice. Depends on who brings in what on that day. And we have little nip glasses. One of the girls went to Las Vegas a couple of years ago and she got us shiny, glittery little shot glasses. And we have a little shot. And if the boys want to join up, then they have to change their names. They have to become, Luke becomes Lucy and Kyle becomes Kylie. And they're more than welcome to join us.
And but it's fun. It's lighthearted.
It's culture.
That's right.
I think, David, to your point about we can spend so much energy dealing with the negativity and stewing in it. And if your teams have got spare energy to sing, I know that not every organisation is going to be able to introduce Fuck It Fridays, but the point here is that you've found something that appeals to your people, lets you get together, have some fun, share some stories, and review the highs and lows of the week. Now, that's a session a lot of teams could benefit from.
And we have the most wonderful staff member who's been with us for 14 years. And can I say his name, Dave?
I'm sure he won't.
Well, I'll just say his first name, Jack. So Jack's been with us for 14 years and he's from Idea Services. And he used to do 9 till 3. He now does 9 till 12 because he's 67. And his birthday is 10th of August. Everybody knows, and every year on the 10th of August, we have to have KFC and cheesecake. And he feels that he runs our business. And he comes and just does a little bit of painting. And his level of painting is he can't undo the paint can. So, he's at a very basic level. But we did this originally to encourage our staff to have tolerance and care. And it's been fantastic. And he's just gorgeous. And every Tuesday he arrives and he tells us all that we couldn't run our business without him. And every Tuesday he tells everybody, whoever will listen, that we couldn't run this business without him, and everyone tells him absolutely. And he goes away and his whole week is revolved around his 3 hours at Scafit. And it's gorgeous. We have him a special hat and clothing and feed him a chocolate bar every week. And he's just very special to us.
And like you say, that has given a really strong message over 14 years to all your staff that everybody is valued, everybody matters, and this is how we behave, and this is how we treat people.
Yeah. He's gorgeous.
Yeah. And the rest of your staff are more gorgeous because he's there.
Yeah. They all really value him. And I love hearing them walk in and, Jack, how's it going? And they have big chats with him and pat him on the back, and Jack feels fabulous, and it's just great.
I just want to say thank you, because I think it's really inspiring for other businesses to hear that it is possible to grow a good, productive, profitable business and also be committed to looking after your people, to growing your people, and to serving your community and being sustainable.
Yeah. And look, I don't think it, we've made lots of mistakes. We haven't always got things right, that's for sure. But, that's just part of that. That's where our biggest lessons come from. And as long as we're, not being too tough on ourselves, that's where the learning comes from.
Brilliant.
And more than happy to discuss with anybody anything. It's all got to be transparent, and if somebody can learn off how we've learned how to deal with things or learn from our mistake, that's got to be good.
Your willingness to help others is also really inspiring to both of you. I want to say thank you. It's been a huge pleasure. You've been listening to Making Work Better, recorded for RFM Dunedin. To learn more about how you can make work better for yourself, your team, or your workplace, keep listening to this series and go to nziwr.co.nz to download your free copy of the Making Work Better report. Thanks for listening today. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate the podcast to help others who might benefit from it find it more easily.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.